Holy shit, he's erasing his head. The Wrecking Crew is an Amazon original, not to be confused with the 1968 The Wrecking Crew, or the 2000 The Wrecking Crew, or The Wrecking Crew that came out in 2008. This came out just today as I'm recording, and comes to us from director Angel Manuel Soto, who did Charm City Kings as well as Blue Beetle, that honestly was a fairly decent superhero movie that really should have done better, but wasn't marketed all that great, and, well, the hierarchy of power in the DECU or DCEU, or however the hell you fucking say that, did not change according to Rock the Dwayne Johnson, so films like Blue Beetle were left out to die. Nevertheless, Angel Manuel Soto is back with The Wrecking Crew that has Dave Bautista as James Hale. I almost want to call him Hale. Hale, hey, oh Halo, daylight come and Honolulu wanna go home. And also, Jason Momoa is Johnny. He is another Hale who has to go home. One day only at the Bon Marché. I'm going to throw out singing stuff just for fun, because it's supposed to be fun. Because that's what this channel's about, is fun. Even if I rant about wrestling in some movies. So The Wrecking Crew basically involves these two brothers that are estranged. They try to figure out what happened to their estranged father, Walter. We see what happens to Walter in the very beginning of this film. And action, bloody, violence, espionage, and pretty generic villain stuff with some standard writing from writer Jonathan Tropper, who did that Series C as well as the Adam Project. And actually, the Adam Project was pretty good overall. It wasn't great, but it was entertaining enough. And thankfully, Dave Bautista and Jason Momoa are able to elevate this generic material to a higher standard than you would expect from Amazon. That doesn't mean it's perfect. They could have easily cut, I'd say, 15 minutes out of this movie. But as far as action films go, it mostly looks good. The Hawaiian locales don't hurt. That also is down to a few beautiful women, such as Morena Baccarin, who was in Greenland, and Greenland 2, my God. Morena definitely deserves better projects. This was better than Greenland 2 Migration, which was dog shit. And we do have Roy Mata Fox, who, my word, could she berate me next? I don't have issues, shut up. As well as Frankie Adams. They play the respective, main women in this. And we also have a villain, Claus's Bang. Stop laughing, this is serious. Or Clay's Bang, however you say that. And we also have Jacob Alton, who was in Tarot. I know it's Tarot. He was also in Novocaine. Novocaine was a lot better than Tarot. And he was also in a couple of the more recent Spider-Man movies. So yeah, Hawaii locations, Dave Bautista, who I'm really glad is doing so well in Hollywood, considering that he got into wrestling late, made a good amount of money, had to basically get into Hollywood and worked hard. I mean, to his credit, he might be, and actually I would say is the best of the wrestlers turned actors. Cena's good. Cena can do some self-defecating humor. And Rock the Dwayne Johnson certainly didn't get nominated for his role in the Smashing Machine because, it wasn't that good of a movie. The Wrecking Crew is by no means perfect and definitely has some, issues, but is entertaining enough overall. You'll get some nice banter between Momoa and Bautista, and the splatter violence helps carry this thing along. A couple neat little chase scenes, and overall, pretty decent. So that being said, I'm going to get into spoilers. So 3, 2, 1, and there we go. Spoilers right there. So we start off with Paradise City, because they're just going to needle drop everything when it comes to Amazon originals. The going over the Honolulu skyline and city streets, there were some parts that looked a little fakey. And the guy Walter that ended up getting hit by a van was doing something where he dropped a package in a mailbox in a busy marketplace. And yeah, he didn't look suspicious at all. Dear God, never trust this guy to go anywhere with any sensitive materials. I mean, you don't have to now because he's dead. James is a lifelong Navy guy. Is at one point teaching people how to stay submerged. We then get to ZZ Top's Tush. Fitting that Morena would be involved in this, since I'm sorry, she's like gonna be 47. She looks fucking incredible. I mean, there are some women, there are some people in general that just don't age. But Oklahoma, where the winds come sweeping down the plains, and away as a generic plot goes. So, yeah, let's just say Johnny isn't doing all that well. Some Yakuza members show up for some reason. He beats them up while he's taking, or right after he's done taking a piss. And Valentina, played by Morena, has left him at this point. And we get a song from Air Supply. I understand the needle dropping, but it's actually getting a little egregious. It's almost a rib at this point, figuring out how many needle drops they do. And Jason Momoa is at least having fun as a drunk. And cheese grater on the arm, and then like making somebody bite down on the goddamn table. Not like in Bring Her Back, but like biting down like we're gonna like curb stomp you there. Ouch, that looked painful. Yeah, the Yakuza Syndicate are looking for the package that was mailed by Walter, and there we go. Now it's time to go back to Hawaii, and then we basically get, the brothers reuniting at the father's funeral, not going all that well. Ordinary World by Duran Duran plays. This is the second movie that I have seen in like last 2 weeks where Ordinary World has played. The other one being 28 years later, The Bone Temple. We might want to enjoy the fact that we got 28 years later movies, because based on the box office receipts of The Bone Temple, we may not be getting another one. Or if we do, they're probably going to have to, maybe not crowdfund it, but they're probably going to slash the budget quite a bit. So, Johnny is trying to find the killer and figure all this stuff out. By the way, it is pretty obvious who the fucking killer is. There's a guy, Mr. K. You'll recognize the actor. He was in They Live in Mortal Kombat. And Detective Reinhardt, that I thought might have been involved in this thing, but it turns out he wasn't. We then get Pika, who's played by Jacob. He's trying to have some fun. He's not really given much to do in this. He's given more to do in this than he is in Novocaine. And another chase scene. I don't know why Jacob thought doing the Rikishi Inside Out bump was a good idea, but there we are. And he used to work for Walter. Batista then ends up, he's going to a club to discover more about, what happened, look at some security cameras, and rips out some nipple clamp stuff on this guy. Ouch, or nipple piercings. And it turns out that Walter actually maybe wasn't the best dad, maybe was a bit of an incompetent drunk, but he did have some stuff that he was trying to, hide that would show some corruption of building a casino on some Hawaiian land and everything, and he hid these plans in a surfboard, and he had such a bad apartment that nobody wanted to go there. Maybe not as bad as the apartment of the emaciated guy that had all the, little trees hanging above him and everything. It was still alive, and that jump scare still gets me. Oh, anyway, this has nothing to do with that. The idea is Batista wants him to be, and I know that they have character names, but it's just funnier to say Batista and Momoa. They are, he doesn't want to, he has the idea that maybe somebody did intentionally run the dad down, but maybe not. And you should be methodical or methodical. And yeah, again, it's just standard stock action stuff, but at least they're having fun. I did note that there's this one point where like the old SUV that Batista and his family had got wrecked, and he drop kicked through the windshield, which was just funny to me, because I don't think I ever saw Batista throw a fucking drop kick in his career, or at least not very often, because he was a big beefy lad and injuries were piling up for him. But Stephen Root, as a detective, is like, look, I know you want to find out who killed your dad, but it turns out that Momoa was a cop back in Oklahoma, and he also, killed a meth dealer that was selling to kids, but maybe there's more to it. We don't really find out if there's more to it. And essentially, there's a bit of a romance with one girl. Who the hell is it? Nani? Huanani, played by Frankie Adams. I do have to say, by the way, Layla Hale, Roy Mata Fox. Good grief. I mean, I who would not want a woman like that? And there's Marcus as the main villain. Pretty standard villain here. Mr. Bang's a pretty standard one. We don't really get like a ton of like, good plot points here. And nobody's in any real danger. But again, it's entertaining enough. And I'm not talking myself out of it. It's just this movie is one also that you may not particularly remember by the end of the year or even by the beginning of the summer. But they're having some, banter at the party. One of the Yakuza members does a bunch of coke. Johnny ends up talking to the wife of Marcus, played by Lydia Peckham, who, my word, what a New Zealand export. What a beauty she is. She doesn't last very long, but holy shit. So, anyway, there's also this thing about this World War I French grenade that Marcus has. That comes back to play a little bit later. And Momoa ends up being pissed about Lydia dying. To be fair, I'd be pissed about that too, that gorgeous goddess. And what you do is you just go and immediately attack all the thugs there. And then you get tased by somebody who was described as Fat John Cena. That was funny. That was funny. That was a funny line. So, they're basically having to fight their way out. Walter's darkness, according to the mayor, by the way. Not Mayor McCheese, as hilarious as that would have been. And considering that, Nani was, the niece of the governor and working on his campaign and everything, and he was just so nice and thinking that he was going to do right by the people, but it was almost disingenuous. I'm like, gee, I wonder who's behind the whole thing. He's also behind this stuff. There's a lot of, fighting, boom, 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 boom. I did note at one point there was a back body drop or a belly-to-back suplex where, my God, Batista should not be taking those bumps at this point. And I know that it's Hollywood and you can hide some stuff. And he's tough. I'm not saying he's not tough, but my God. And then I know could Roy Mata yell at me like that next? And Valentina got the mail, got the package, and is like, I'm not going to come to Hawaii. Then she comes to Hawaii. Sometimes she doesn't come at all. So, then there's a bridge chase where Valentina takes over driving. Shockingly, as a woman driver, she succeeds. I know that's pretty much going to eliminate any of the woman, audience base that I have, but it's for fun. It's literally for fun. We have nobody that can drive here in Washington State. Man, woman, animal, vegetable, mineral. Driving backwards on the freeway was a choice. And then we get where a guy ends up, losing his arm, like, in a bridge part, where, he gets pinned against a bridge and his arm gets ripped off. That was fun. And then, where Batista was ramming this guy's head, helmet-wise, and, with a helmet, into the pavement. Holy shit, he's erasing his head. That's funny. That's funny stuff. And I know it. I think I might love Morena at this point, because, my God, just, again, how could you not? Jesus. So anyway, there's this plug for something called Zippy's. I assume it's a fast food chain in Hawaii. Those who are in Hawaii, let me know. And, the governor is behind all this? What do you mean he's behind this? Of course he is. So, they kidnap the wife, and they kidnap Nani, so now we must go and do some action-y stuff. Batista ends up killing people a bunch in a almost side-scrolling hallway-like setting. That was nice. He kills one of the main Yakuza guys, I think the one that was doing cocaine earlier, and Jason Momoa gets his shoulder hooked, but somehow is not bleeding out completely. And he says, I got one more thing. He flips him the bird, and he's got the pin on there. And then the grenade blows up. So Marcus is dead, despite the fact we really don't see Marcus blow up. It's a wide shot. And the governor gets arrested. And Johnny talks to his mother at her grave. And then Mr. K says, oh, by the way, that mark, he left a mark on him earlier. A mark, of the beast or whatever it was. Hey, all's forgiven. Here's a note with the person that killed your mother. And then Phil Collins' Take Me Home plays us off as we possibly get a sequel, finding out who killed the mother. Maybe it's going to turn up that, Batista did. No, Batista didn't do that. It'll be the kid. The kid did it. The kid goddamn it. That's it. You can never trust those goddamn children. Look, the movie is generic, and it sounds like I'm a little more down on it than I actually am. It gets a B. It's entertaining enough. It's not great, but whatever. I'll take what I can get with Amazon at this point. Grading on a curve. And the floor is in the goddamn ceiling. No, the floor is in the basement. I don't know what I'm saying. So agree, disagree with what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rentland, and until we revisit the Hawaiian Batista bombing nation again, don't really think I should say that. Let's go, I walk alone, happy trails to you.